One day I'm gonna be everything I wanna be. I don't let it get the most of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be everything I'm gonna be. My future right in front of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be free. Then let me be free. One day I'm gonna be free. Mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. One day I'm gonna be free. I'm standing at the crossroads. I'm feeling like a lost soul. Don't know where I wanna go, but all I know is I wanna be free. They're telling me to let it be, but that just ain't in me, no. Jealousy and envy, but all I see is I wanna be free. See everything I wanna be, exactly what I'm gonna be. Don't let it get the most of me. Eventually, I'm gonna be free. See everything I wanna be, exactly what I'm gonna be. Yeah. One day I'm gonna be free. I'm gonna be free. Let me be free. One day I'm gonna be free. Mentally and physically, emotionally and spiritually. Yeah. One day I'm gonna be free. I told them take their aim off me. Stop trying to get a name off me. If they would just let me be, I'm gonna be free. I told them take them chains off me and throw away the locks and keys. If they would just let me be, eventually I'm gonna be free.
They're back.
What up, though? What up, though? What up, though? 7 more days, we're back again for another episode. In fact, I'm Archbishop. We got Mike Ball and Aaron Olinger. And man, I'm telling you, man, these 7 days they going by way too quick. But just like always, we hope everybody is doing well, everybody's safe, and we got another good story for you. But before we kick into it, like always, we check to see what everybody done for the week. And we're going to kick this show off. So, Aaron, you go first. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing okay, Dave. Just happy to be here.
How was your week?
I wasn't too bad. I had a gun show this past weekend, had a decent crowd. So I was happy with the turnout and everything. But just looking forward to moving forward to a karate tournament I'm be doing in about 2 more weeks.
Dang, good on you. Good on you. Keep it up. Keep it moving. You know.
So you actually demonstrating or what? Sorry, Mike.
Yeah, I was going to ask you a question too.
No, I'm gonna be vending at the karate tournament. This will be probably about the 3rd year I've been at this particular one. It'll be down in Cincinnati, Ohio. The winners, and I'm talking all the way down to the little kids, they will go to England to fight in the World Championships. So anyone showing up this is a major tournament, will be on the U.S. team and be able to travel to England later, probably around September, like I said, to fight in the World Championships.
Oh, okay. That's what's
That's
up.
dope.
So what about you,
Yeah.
Mike?
It's been a fun week. So Wednesday we did our show, right? And then Saturday, unfortunately, we had like a big tornado ordeal here where I live. So we went underground for 4 or 5 hours or whatever. We had two tornadoes, pretty gnarly ones, go right over our house. And I actually got a little like 10-second little excerpt or whatever. But check this out. Watch. All right, we got Lucy in here. We've got the tornado alarms going. Sounds like warfare. Time to shelter up. Yeah, with our tall can. Anyways. Yep. No big deal.
He's shelter in place with the cat and the tall can, huh?
Yeah, that's right. Lucy, as long as Lucy's safe, I got my beer, I'm good, So cheers to that.
Right. Gotcha. Yeah, so this week pretty good. Got a lot of work in. Actually got a lot of stuff done around here that I needed to get done. Been working on this camper. Me and Aaron been talking about this. I got this camper that I've been working on. So I've been working on trying to get it to where if I need it, everything that I need is in that camper. So I've been working on that here for the past couple weeks, giving me something to do. You know what I mean? And it's always something like once you start working on it, it's like something else you want to add to it. Like, no, I don't need this, but I need this. You know what I mean? So yeah, I done put a refrigerator and everything in this daggone thing, man. It's it's plush now. But other than that, like I said, been moving around a little bit. Didn't have to film last week. They're the one that I'm supposed to start it on.
I'm surprised.
Yeah,
because it's usually like we're filming like this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they had some camera malfunctioning going on, and they had to go get that straightened out and all that. So, so we didn't have to do nothing then. But for you ones that's been asking, Riding Dirty Part 1 and 2 is going to hit the streaming platforms in May. They haven't gave the exact date in May, but I think it's going to be close to the beginning of May. But it will definitely be on streaming platforms in May. So to you ones that's been asking questions about it and want to know when it comes on and whatever. So once it gets closer to that, then I'll let you know the exact date and the exact platforms that it's going to be on, but they will be on in May. So let's jump on to this show now. Like I said, every week it seems like something else is going on. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It hasn't been a week yet. In the past year that there hasn't been something going on, but it's like now it's more and more precedent that there's stuff going on, you know what I mean, everywhere. So if those of you that didn't know or is hidden behind a rock, we got a situation that's going on in Yemen right now. And you have the Houthis they've been raising hell in Red Sea for a while now. And they've been, attacking ships, cargo ships. They've been taking fire to other ships, trying to, they were doing like the whole pirating thing there for a minute. And then they kind of eased off, and then now they didn't pick back up again. But this past Saturday, they actually tried to go after a U.S. carrier.
Oh shit! Yep, I did see that.
Truman, yeah, USS Harry S. Truman. They launched drones and a ballistic missile at the carrier. They scrambled jets and whatnot, and they got the drones, and the And from the reports, it says that the actual ballistic missile did not hit the ship, that it landed in the water. That's what they're saying. But we've kind of been getting different information about that, because some information that we have here is saying that it did not sustain any damage. And then I've seen other reports that said that it did. Don't know. I don't know which one is true and which one isn't. So I seen one where it shows a video of something like that happening where it actually got hit. But then, according to a lot of the news sources, which they hide stuff, they said that it didn't happen and that the ballistic missile actually hit the water. So we're going to be talking about a little bit of all of this, as to the reason why this took place and the reason why it's going to continue to take place. So that's going to take up our hour. That's what that's what we're going to be focusing on. But I got a quick clip that I'm gonna play first, and then when we kick back in, then I'm gonna let Aaron start off on his, because I know he's digging
got the notes.
Yeah,
He's ready.
So seemed like anything going on in the Middle East, he's dead on it. I mean, so I'm gonna let him kick in on it once we play this little clip.
Hit the like button, everybody.
Yemen's Houthi rebels are vowing to retaliate after U.S. strikes.
The Houthis promise to respond. President Trump vows this time is different, writing Iran's support for the group who's targeted commercial vessels and U.S. Navy ships at one of the world's most vital shipping routes must end immediately.
The minute the Houthis say, we'll stop shooting at your ships, we'll stop shooting at your drones, this campaign will end. But until then, it will be unrelenting. We got the reports last night, Maria. The Houthi capital felt like an earthquake. Dozens and dozens of precision heavy munitions dropping precisely on the targets that we wanted to hit, sending a very clear message. And the message is clear to Iran as well. Your support of the Houthis needs to end immediately. We will hold you accountable as the sponsor of this proxy. And I echo his statement. We will not be nice about it. This is not the Biden administration.
Today is Sunday, March 16th, 2025. Breaking news coming out in the past couple of hours.
So, Aaron, give us a crash course on this.
Okay, the Houthi organization, and I found it kind of interesting that they were basically a grassroots organization. A guy named Hussein al-Houthi started. They're part of the Houthi tribe. When they first got started, they were almost similar to our Boy Scouts of America. They were setting up summer camps for the Yemen'S youth to go and camp out and things, learn survival tactics, other things that they was teaching them. But that's how they started off. Then they evolved from that after the Arab Spring into an organization that was defending their own villages. They were like a militia group, and they was defending against the leader of the Yemen country, the country of Yemen, which was their president, which he was a communist. The Houthis were more democratic. However, they were all Islamic in nature. So then that evolved into them becoming more of a fighting force. And then later, they started learning hard lessons on the battlefield. And due to those hard lessons, the Houthis rewrote the book on mountain warfare. They learned asymmetric warfare and area control warfare, and they began a campaign of taking over area and being able to hold it. Now, the Houthis were basically trained by Hezbollah. That was the connection to Iran. So if you're covering the dots, that's how it became. Hezbollah became interested in the Houthi revolution, and they started training them. And then Iran got an eyeball on the situation and started supplying them, even though today Iran denies supplying the Houthis with everything. But the Houthis became a major force. And then later, not only were they fighting against the Yemen military, they got into a fight with Saudi Arabia as well. And they pushed the Saudis out. In fact, they pushed them out so hard that they took over a couple Saudi towns themselves. They pushed into Saudi Arabia. And the Saudi prince or king, whoever he was, he didn't like that at all. He formed up a coalition of nations and they went against them, mostly Arab countries, and they still couldn't defeat them. They did push them back into their own country, but the Saudis went so far as to even employ the American group called Blackwater, and the Houthis held their own against them. I mean, some people called them a bunch of half-assed mountain boys. But these boys wrote the book on mountain warfare after learning all the lessons they learned. They went from being almost a Boy Scout type organization to a major force in the country of Yemen. Now, keep in mind, Yemen is the second poorest country in the Middle East. So it's hard for them to fight against this rebel army. I mean, being trained by Hezbollah, getting weapons from Iran, the Yemen military could not deal with them. And over the years, from 2016, when the start of the Yemen civil war started, moving up to now, the Houthi movement has continued to gain more and more territory. And in recent years, they've been captured an oil-rich region, which now will give them
Resources.
money to buy weapons. Yeah, I mean, the capital of Yemen is Sanaa. That's in Houthi control. All the major cities are in Houthi control. Houthis control 80% of the population of Yemen itself. So the rest of the country, and if you don't mind putting up a map, I think it's the second picture. No, third picture. I mean third picture. I'm sorry.
This one right here.
Yeah. As you can clearly see, the western side of Yemen that borders the Red Sea is mostly controlled by the Houthis. Republic of Yemen is, and you can tell by the topographical map, most of Yemen is mountain territory.
Yeah.
Now the rest of Yemen is only 20% of the population. The Southern Transitional Council is basically controlled there by Al Qaeda. But Houthis are sitting in a very strategic position to cover the trade routes.
Right.
Now, go to the second picture if you don't mind.
Sure. Which is this one. There you go.
Okay. That picture there, you can see the trade route that comes from anywhere from India to the Middle East, travels around the Indian Ocean. It goes around Yemen, that tip of Yemen right there where the Houthis are strategically sitting. And then that trade goes up through the Suez Canal and then comes around to Europe and the United States. That accounts for 12% of the global trade around the world. Since they started shooting in 2022, there's been 180 attacks that the Houthis have done. They have choked off 78% of the shipping through the Suez Canal. Now they have to come down around the Indian Ocean, sail down southerly down the coast of Africa, go around the tip of Africa, come all the way back up around Africa to get to Europe and to the United States. That adds months to the journey. It causes the ships and commercial shipping to have to pay very high insurance.
And lots of fuel.
Right. The fuel bill is astronomical. And then it's causing higher prices on the merchandise once it's received. And I think that's it on that part of it. Yeah. But to cut off 72% of the Red Sea trade is major. Now, when you ask what's the end game, what was they hoping to achieve when the war with Israel broke out that was started by Hamas, the Houthis jumped in it immediately. They wanted to help the Palestinian brothers. I guess they're all Islamic, so they jumped in it. Now, they were seizing commercial ships, and the end game was to cut off supplies to Israel. That's what they hoped to do. They hoped by cutting off supplies to Israel, both weapons as well as humanitarian, that would force Israel to the peace talks table with Hamas. But that didn't occur. So the Houthis have been shooting at them. They've been shooting at our ships or any ships that are allied to the United States or Israel. They've been firing at them. The other ships are allowed to pass. And then they've also taken over certain ships themselves and seized them doing the pirating thing. But the Houthis are sitting in a very strategic spot. And then go to the next picture, Mike.
Sure,
Which
I got
one?
you. Let's do. Are you talking about this one right here?
It's the, yes. Okay. I want everybody to see where the Houthis are. The Saudi Arabia is a much bigger country than the area of the Houthis. And the Houthis took them on with their coalition and fought them to a standstill. I mean, they're still shooting back and forth at each other. Now, Iran is shipping weapons to the Houthis, which they have to overfly UAE airspace and Saudi Arabia airspace to get there, but they can also sail down and bring weapons straight in to the Houthis. And there's nobody in that area that's capable of stopping them. And if the Houthis can hold the Red Sea and Iran can hold that other area there, hold that Strait of Hormuz, they could literally choke off all shipping. So that's a very strategic point right there that people need to understand, that a lot of goods coming from that area could be brought to a stop. If we get into it with Iran, they're going to cut off the Strait of Hormuz, and the Houthis are already controlling the Red Sea. So that
These are
the Houthis are in a very strategic position. Go
these
ahead,
right
Mike.
here. This is exactly where the Houthis in the, I guess, recent time have done their attacks, right? And so, as you know, the Red Sea being a vital place for them to, it's a trade route, and where we're going to see all types of different flagships around the world, let alone America, right? And so this is
Right.
definitely a strategic little bottleneck area. Yeah,
Correct.
brutal.
So Iran right now is denying backing the Houthis, but Russia admits that they're backing them. Now the airstrikes that Trump is talking about, he said they're going to continue until the Houthis stop attacking shipping in the area. But the Houthis are vowing to meet that escalation with escalation themselves. Every time the U.S. escalates, they're going to escalate. Now, knowing how poor they are, I wonder how many weapons have already been smuggled into them that they can continue to fight or act in such a manner that they're acting. But they seem awfully confident that they can go for a while and go toe to toe with the United States Air Force. And seeing that Bishop indicated to me the other day that we have to fight according to the Geneva Convention, which puts rules on us in Israel. It's unfortunate because the only way you're going to be able to defeat the Houthis is to come in and carpet bomb them and just flatten cities totally until they're tired of their people dying and they're willing to capitulate. Because those people have been combat hardened since 2004, and they've been in a never-ending civil war that has claimed 377,000 lives against the people in their own country.
That civil war is insane.
And then 80% of the people in Yemen itself lives below the poverty level. 80%. And they're faced with famine and starvation. And that creates a hard type of person that I mean, they're at rock bottom. There is no downside other than death. So they're hardcore. They're not going to just quit.
And we're not talking
They
20% of the population. We're talking 80. You know, it's a lot.
80%.
Right. That's basically everybody.
Right. Crazy.
But I'm gonna stop there for right now. I'll let you guys chime in. But
Well, you know,
this is major.
I was looking on there where they said that the attack on the USS Harry S. Truman strike group, it came a day after the Navy carried out several attacks against Houthi in Western Yemen, and those strikes included the capital city Sana'a. That's like 98. They confirmed 98 casualties at that point in time. Now the Houthi leader, Abdul Malik al Houthi, said on
Great. You did it way better than I could.
Right.
You said it right.
A televised address that the U.S. that as long as the U.S. continued their aggression, that they was gonna incline and escalate until we stopped. Now we're saying that we're not gonna stop until you stop. So this is gonna keep going. You know what I mean? Now, so then they launched 11 drones and 1 ballistic missile, and the supporting ships of the carrier group were able to knock down those drones, as well as the jet fighters that was also out on patrol. Now, here's the question. Now they said that the missile didn't hit. I just want to show you something right quick. Now, like I said, it could be true. It could be fabricated.
Okay.
I just want you to take a look and see what you think.
الآن في صاعدة يتم الضرب من قبل الطيران الأمريكي الإسرائيلي. في محافظة الصاعدة. والله لم يرضى مثلا فإنهم ولنفسهم.
Well, it sounds like chaos.
Like I said, it could be. It could be. It could not be. Now, you know, it's a whole lot of deep fakes that you
True.
can. I mean, that they come out that look absolutely real. You know what I mean? And I actually seen one that showed a carrier being hit, but if you watched it long enough, you realize that it was a fake. You know what I mean? Now, so we got the carrier group out there. We got the jets out there, and they're going after these quote pirates that's been out there going after these carrier ships, which they have been doing for a long period of time.
Right. This is not a new phenomenon.
Right. And like normally you would just see them because the U.S. always kept a ship out there somewhere. They always kept a ship out there.
Yep.
And when they seen them, they would, shoot a couple warning shots over their bow, make them turn around or whatever. But they never actually, there's very few times that they actually had to engage them. You know what I mean? Which now, it is what it is now. You know what I mean? As soon as you see them, they letting it loose on them. Now, my question is, now I know we were talking about before how important the Suez Canal is, because actually they had been talking about this several months ago about wanting to be able to open up that area there, kind of make it similar to the Panama Canal,
right?
To where they would be able to bring more ships through that way, because it was just like a cut between to keep you from having to go all the way around the continent of Africa.
Total shortcut.
Come over on this side. Yeah. So they have been talking about this for a while. Now, I know that would be a hard situation that would be a hard operation to do, being the fact that in order for you to do that, you would basically have to wipe them off the map in order to be able to do that, because you would have constant fighting the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And especially like you would probably have military out there, of course, yeah, but you got contractors and stuff out there that's actually going there to do the construction and all that. So you're going to have a lot of fighting going on during that time.
Yeah, let me go ahead and trust my $2.1 billion worth of fuel oil, petroleum oil, American flag ship going through the Suez Canal and then going through the Red Sea. Could you imagine the Houthis and what they could do and what they would try to do?
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Like I said, you would have to basically wipe out that whole section in order to be able to pull that off.
Yeah, very true. Very, very true. It's unfortunate because it is very violent. We can see just in a matter of 2.5, 3 years, the amount of attacks that have happened in the Red Sea right there, right next to the Houthis.
Mm-hmm. Now, let me ask you this, Aaron. So with what's going on right now, in your opinion, based on what you've read and studied up on, how far do you think this is going to go? Do you think Iran is actually going to jump into this? Because even though Iran said that they wasn't giving up no weapons, that's where they're getting that shit from. It ain't just Russia that's giving it to them.
Well, I'm going to tell you this. I want people to realize this. Houthis don't have no satellites. They might have radar, but they don't have satellites to be able to see where those ships are. You have Iranian spy ships right out there in the water that's calling in and radioing to the Houthis live time coordinates of where the ships are located so the Houthis can aim their weapons and shoot. So it's rumored that we sank one of those spy ships. One of our destroyers put it on the ocean floor, but I can't find no confirmation that that's been done. But if you got Iranian ships out there giving live time information of the coordinates or even lasing targets for them, it sure makes their ability to shoot at our ships a lot easier. And until that they eliminate those spy ships out there in the water and bring in airplanes to hit those radar sites, the Houthis are constantly going to be able to hit targets in that area. I mean, right now, in the last 72 hours, the Houthis have attacked our naval Harry S. Truman task force. They've attacked them 4 times in the last 72 hours. And the Houthis, when we hit them, what we went after was to try to hit their radar. We took down their air defenses, so now our planes can fly in, our B-2s can go in, and they've got no air defense. And we attacked their missile and drone systems. But the Houthis have been fighting a war for decades now, and they realized to avoid that, they started digging underground depots where they can keep stuff underground. They got tunnels and systems and stuff everywhere. I mean, these people are battle hardened, and they know that they can't stop Saudi Arabia from coming in bombing them, let alone the United States. So they sought other means to protect their equipment, and they're prepared for it. I mean, they got installations dug inside of mountains up there and hiding their tanks and stuff. And most of the equipment that they started off fighting with, they captured from the Saudis and other people. And then later the Russians and Iranians started supplying them. But I mean, these people aren't amateurs. They know what they're doing. So this can go on for 10 years or more. I mean, unless you wipe them out and take over that coastal area, you're not going to be able to stop them from shooting missiles or drones. But I'll stop there.
Well, you think that in order for them to have capabilities to a ballistic missile, even though they don't have a satellite, they had to get that information from somebody in order to be able to type those coordinates in. Now, the reason why I said that Russia may have something to do with it, may not, is because, right now it's a whole little powder keg brewing up here. So you got the U.S. talking to Russia and Ukraine, trying to get that peace thing going on over here. You got this going on in Yemen. You got Israel and Hezbollah over here doing this thing here. Now, Iran is involved in this with Yemen. They also involved with Israel. So wouldn't they, being the fact that they're right there, that would give them, better opportunity to be able to do this as opposed to Russia. Not saying that they didn't have not saying that they didn't have anything in it. Just saying proximity wise, they would be closer being able to do it. Now, when you were talking about them being buried in, that was the same thing that we discovered when we was talking about Iran. And but they had whole jet hangars and stuff that was built under the ground. So that way you couldn't see what they had topside. Now, being the fact that the Houthis have been doing this for many, many years, they've been fighting there. And with them having those underground tunnels going into, different bunkers, stuff like that, think about this. You're never going to be able to weed them out. Reason being is because all your 80% poor civilians, they're all on top side. Houthis underground. They come out to fight, go right back underground. They're like little moles.
Cockroaches.
They come out, do their little thing, they go back up on the ground. So when you launching missiles, you doing airstrikes, then you hitting civilians. You ain't hitting them. They on the ground hiding. And that's what they've been doing since this has started years and years and years ago. You know what I mean? They pop out, do their little thing, go back up on the ground. By the time you come back and strike, yeah, you strike, yeah, and you kill people, yeah, but you're killing the wrong ones, because them the ones, they're like sitting ducks. That's your collateral damage. You go to hit them all you want. We ain't up there. You know what I mean? Unless you just happen to catch one out and somebody tell, okay, that's such and such, and you know what I mean, and he moving around over here, and you come with a drone and launch something on. Other than that, you don't catch these people. They're on the ground. So,
well, think about like those sitting ducks that you're thinking about. I mean, imagine not, being underground. You're up on top where we can actively kind of get you. Underground, that's a different ordeal. That's when they're hiding underground. That's a hard battle. In general, it is. It's hard dealing with that.
So unless they catch you around one of these missiles, siloed batteries, on a ship, boat, whatever. I mean, the main ones, the important ones, I should say, you ain't gonna see them. They're gonna be up on the ground, unless, of course, you got somebody in there that's gonna tell you exactly where they at, and you drop something in that particular area and be able to get them. That's usually how they get them. You know what I mean? Somebody tell where they at, and they end up tracking them down. But for the most part, though, these guys is gonna be hanging up on the ground, and they got all these civilians sitting up on top, men, women, and children that ain't involved in this. That's gonna end up paying the price for them while they hit up on the ground. But the whole thing with them trying to do all this reconstruction of the Suez Canal to be able to do the same thing as the Panama Canal, you ain't gonna be able to do that as long as it's going on. You never do it.
Well, just going in the Middle East area in general is a risk, not just for Yemen reasons, but for the axis of resistance reasons, right?
Well, yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I'm going to add to that. Again, to have your spotter ships out there in the water is key, because you may have radar installations on the shore where you can locate ships out in the water, but you can't identify them by radar. You need a spotter ship out there, because the ships that are loyal to the Arabs, they're letting them through. But the ones that are loyal to the United States or Israel, or just corporations in general, they're shooting at them. So you got to have a spotter ship out there to be able to identify friend from foe. And I think the United States need to put them spotter ships on the sea floor to try to slow this down and let the Houthi start shooting blind at whoever. Because then if they start hitting the wrong country ships, that country's going to get mad, and that's going to be another partner in the coalition that will come in on your side to teach them a lesson, because some of the countries feel that the Houthis have become too big for their britches. I mean, they started off as a grassroots organization. Now they're affecting world trade, and they're getting kind of cocky with it. This organization grew because nobody saw them. They were behind the scenes growing, and everybody's eyes was on major conflicts and wasn't watching what was going on. This organization kept growing, taking over more and more territory. Now they're making you notice them. They're affecting 12% of the world trade. So I mean, this is major right here, and I'm gonna stop there. I don't want to go no further at this moment.
I seen something here where it says the attacks on targets in Yemen following Houthi announcement that the group would resume attacks on Israeli ships in the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden in response to Israel cutting off food and humanitarian aid to Gaza. The United Kingdom Maritime Trade Operations does not have any reports of Houthi attacks in their shipping lanes since the ceasefire went into effect.
Sorry.
Now, so are they saying that the reason why this stuff is escalated is because of what's going on with Israel in the Gaza Strip? Is that what they're saying that this is escalating from?
That is correct. But let me add to that. The reason why the Israelis cut off humanitarian aid and surrounded Gaza is because they were supposed to release the hostages as part of the ceasefire agreement, and they didn't. And Trump gave them a deadline to release by, and they basically told them to shove it. And then the Iranians said the same thing, to shove it. So at that point, the Israelis said, well, if you're not going to release the hostages, and they've been holding them for a couple of years now, and half of them have died in their care, so they ain't really caring for them. So if you're not going to release the hostages, we're going to start giving you food. I mean, it would be similar to the United States if we got into a war with Mexico and we're whooping on Mexico, and Mexico takes hostages along the border, and then they say, well, you send us food and we'll release the hostages. Well, we're feeding our enemy here, and then they don't release the hostages. So what are you going to do? You're going to cut off the food. So I don't have a problem with the Israelis doing what they did, but the Houthis have been shooting at us since 2022, 180 attacks. We barely did anything to them under Biden. And what little bit we did, we ended up hitting empty warehouses, which, what does that do? It doesn't do nothing. And it just emboldens the enemy to think, well, these guys don't even know what they're shooting at.
Yeah, you took out a barn that has nothing in it. Great.
Right.
Good job.
So you just made them get that much braver and more brazen. But under Trump, I think it's going to be a different story. But a movement like this that's battle hardened is going to be hard to defeat because they take on the philosophy of the ninja. The ninja puts on the black uniform at night and goes out and assassinates. And then he comes back home after hit and run, and he takes that uniform off and he puts on the uniform of the civilian, and he blends in with the population. He might even walk on a cane like he's got a limp, but he actually doesn't. Everything is gray man tactics here.
Yep,
And
gray
the
man.
Houthis, the Houthis are expert at blending back in with the population, so you can't pick them out. So, man, it's going to be hard to root them out. But I'll stop there.
So what's your thoughts on this, Mike?
It's brutal. It's brutal. It's not the Middle East and as a whole is a super complicated area geopolitically. Everything into regards to what they are fighting for. It's kind of wild, right? And it is against United States and Israel. You know, that's essentially the main mission, right? It's basically all opposition against Israel over there. And in turn, because we support it, and we're allies, whatever you want to call it. The way they even have, I mean, here's one thing that Aaron brought up to our attention, actually, that I don't want us to kind of lose And Aaron, I want you kind of to go ahead and explain a little bit about this because I don't want us to forget about it. Is this right
Okay.
here?
Yes. This is the Houthi mantra or slogan. God is great. Death to the U.S., death to Israel, curse the Jews, and victory for Islam. I mean, the United States and Israel is directly named as enemies of their state.
Right. Right.
So,
And so
and we want to go ahead, Mike.
no, but it's just it's kind of here's the problem is obviously Iran is funding all of this, right? So they are the ones that are basically funding all this terrorism on their side. And it's kind of I look at it from, of course, they're doing all these things that are actively against us in that kind of ideology, right? But I also look at it right now as Iran in the Middle East being almost like a trap for us right now. And I think that, because people are like, well, we should just glass these people, blah, blah, blah. I go, I'm not against that. Okay. But here's where I'm against us doing it and us funding it. That's the only thing for me. I think that if another certain star state wants to do that, they should do that. That's not our issue. But in turn, politically and the way that handshakes work, of course, we're kind of thrown into that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And let me add to what you just said, Mike. I love Iran's strategy. I mean,
it's smart.
Let's not have the battlefield on our land. Let's set up a geopolitical strategy to where the battlefield is elsewhere. We arm Hezbollah, so it's in Lebanon. We arm Hamas, so they're fighting in Israel. We arm the Houthis, so they're fighting in Yemen. We're keeping the battle off of our land, and we're just setting up this geopolitical proxies, and we're letting them fight, and they're taking orders from us to get our weapons, but they're carrying out our political agenda, but the battlefield is not on our land. I mean, I love it. I love the strategy, but go ahead, guys.
It's very smart the way they do that and the way they proxy all their wars. I think it's pretty easy for you to just go ahead and hire people to go fight for you kind of thing. And geopolitically, right, depending where you are in the world over there on the axis of resistance, that helps them just even that much more. It's in Iran's best interest.
And see, right now, the whole Middle East is a powder keg. You got Israel surrounding Hamas right now, getting ready to go after them. Egypt has called up reserves. They've moved forces up to the border with Israel. Turkey and Iran is talking about jumping in with Egypt to attack Israel. HTS, who took over Saudi Arabia, is back into a fight right now, and they're fighting against Lebanon, against Hezbollah, of all things.
Right.
And then you got the Houthis shooting at Israel and shooting at us. And then the Saudis are firing at the Houthis. I mean, it's a virtual powder keg of who's who and who's shooting at who, But I'll stop there.
See, now, even with all them that you just named, other than Israel and sometimes Turkey, nobody likes the West over there. Nobody. I mean, Saudi Arabia had to deal with us. They had to deal with us. It didn't mean they liked us. They had to deal with us. Jordan, they had to deal with us. Everybody else don't like anything dealing with the United States whatsoever, except for Israel. You know what I mean? So you got that whole section of the Middle East basically going at each other. But it all stemmed on one or two things, and then this one jumped in, the Houthis defending Palestine. You got Iran jumping in because they actually funding a lot of this proxy. They funding a lot of this, and had their hand in it. So then when Washington reaches out to them and tell them to knock the shit off, they say, oh, I had nothing to do with it. I didn't do it. But they know that they, like, okay, I'm gonna give you these weapons. I ain't personally send nobody over to do it. I didn't, I didn't hit the button, but I sold them this a long time ago. That's always been our problem over there, because we've always went there to defend Israel. We always went there, knowing that you was behind the gun, because everybody else is basically gonna stick together, because didn't nobody like Israel. They didn't want them there. You know what I mean? So it's I remember back before, what about 6-7 months ago, in the news they were talking about, why are we going over to Israel? Why are we sending those ships over there? Why are we doing this? Why are we doing that? Now we still doing it. Now before we was just sitting out there in the water, and when they launched some missiles, and Iran launched some missiles or some drones or whatever, then we just shot them down for them to help them out. I mean, but we were staying out of it. Now you in it. Now they shooting at you. So that kind of changed that whole perspective there. Whether we want to talk about each individual thing that's going on, is all leading to one thing. We getting ready to go to war there. Ain't no ifs, ands, buts about it. It's going to happen.
I hate to hear that. I hate hearing that, to be honest, because I look at the Middle East as a whole right now as just an American trap. And especially Iran being at the head of the table, head of discussion here, right? I do think that it is unfortunately going to be a trap that I think that we will go down. And I hate hearing other people say we're going to get into this, because I really believe that's the wrong decision, but I see it happening, and that's unfortunate, right? What do you think, Aaron?
Well, right now, allegedly, I'm looking for confirmation, but I've seen reports that we have 3 carrier groups heading that way right now. Also, the Russians and Chinese have warships that are heading that way. So there's definitely an escalation that's happening right now. I mean, the whole world, if you look around the whole world, it's all preparing for war. I mean, you have France and Estonia, they're requiring all their men to start taking military training to get ready for war. You got different nations that are prepping for war, stocking food, water, munitions. I mean, all around the world, this is happening. And I'm in total agreement with Bishop. We're headed to war. There's going to be no ifs, ands, or buts.
Mm-hmm. And to
But
what
I'll
you were
stop there.
saying, Mike, you're absolutely right. You're going to be, the U.S. will be stuck on the back end of this, because you think about it. So you got Iran that's basically fueling a lot of this stuff. Now, Iran made their deal with China. They also made a deal with Russia. So if they thinking that they're going to get into some shit, of course, they got to come in and back them up. That's the agreement that they had. Now, another one that you're not talking about right now that ain't nobody saying nothing about is North Korea. North Korea made a deal with Russia. So if they get into something, then their ass is going to jump into it.
True.
So everybody got these little lines. Then you got NATO, because even if you mess with the U.S. now you got to deal with Britain and everybody else, even though they feud amongst each other now, dealing with these tariffs and all this other shit. But they all in that same little group. Okay. So let's just say, for instance, that one of them did launch a ballistic missile, and it did hit that carrier.
Sure.
And it did, what's the right word? So you did have casualties on that ship.
I think we'd be in war right now.
You damn right. You damn right. They would let it loose.
Right. They would.
They would let it loose there. And then all hell will break loose.
You touch any of our people to that extent, yeah, it's over.
Because right now what it is more like, okay, you launch something, I'm gonna knock it out the air. You know what I mean? I'm gonna shoot, I'm gonna do a couple little airstrikes here, I'm gonna knock this out. But a lot of this stuff came from, like Aaron was talking about, dealing with those hostages. They've been told you let these hostages go. Been told you. But the thing is, you said if you don't have this done by quote quote Thursday at midnight, I'm gonna rain hell on you. What happened? Nothing. You didn't do nothing. So what does they take that by? So when you start just keep saying, oh, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, and they're like, oh, you ain't gonna do shit because you didn't do it. Now, if you would have came and said, okay, you're gonna do this by Thursday at midnight or else, and at 12:01, you seen boom, 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 then oh, they ain't playing. Here, take these people. Here, get them. You know what I mean? It's like this whole little cat and mouse game, shooting wolf tickets at each other. You know, if you do this, I'm gonna do this. If you do this, I'm gonna launch a nuke. If you do this, I'm gonna do this. It's that political wolf ticket bullshit that's going on. You know what I mean? But like I said, you're sitting on a powder keg right now. And what's gonna happen is gonna take one thing. It's gonna take one thing to happen that's gonna set everything off. One thing. It ain't gonna be these little airstrikes either. It's gonna be one little small thing.
Yep.
That one of them missiles hit one of them ships, is gonna go down.
It's over. You're right. You're right. And rightfully so, I think so as well. I mean, if you're attacking us and our people start dying, well, what I look at that as war, you know, like it's on, motherfucker.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, let's go. I mean, that whole thing's been going on. Like we've been talking about that particular area on and off for well over a year now. On and off, we've been talking about different stuff that's been going on over there. And each time we talk about it, it escalates just a little further. It deals with another little part of land in the same area. It just keeps growing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So you had Israel first, then you had Lebanon, the Gaza. Now you got Syria. Then you had Iran jump in. Then you had Jordan jumping in, kind of like, okay, don't be shooting nothing over my land. You know what I mean? But we're gonna stay in the background. We ain't gonna do nothing. Now you got Yemen.
Down south, right?
Right. Now you got Yemen. So you got the Houthis. You got Hezbollah. You got Hamas. You got Israel.
Had
you got
Assad.
the Iranians.
You
right.
had
you
Assad.
Got all of them. Right.
Right.
You got all these different groups together. All these different groups together. And you can't have all those groups together. And everybody is after two. Israel, US.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep.
So they done actually sit there and like, okay, you know what? We may not like each other. We may be on two totally different religious beliefs or whatever, but right now we after them. So we're gonna group together and we're gonna go after them. Because technically, you know, I mean, if you think about it, the US is actually sitting out there like sitting ducks for real. Because they can potentially get hit all the way around and not know where it's coming from. You know what I mean? Who's to say
True.
that you thinking that you fighting Houthis and to be Iranians?
Right. You've got
You know
8 war fronts. You know what I mean?
You know, so it could come from anywhere. Okay, so now you talking about you're gonna send Chinese ships, or you gonna send Russian ships, or for what? You know what I mean? Because to me, okay, whether you got to deal with Iran, we ain't messing with Iran right now. We just told them to stay the hell out of it. Now, you bring your ships down here, then that means you got a problem. You know what I mean? So the best thing for you to do is keep your ass where you're supposed to be. Don't worry about this. You know what I mean? That's what's going to do it, because you think now you got all these different fronts coming in, and all of them going to see who the baddest one going to be. You know what I mean? Because Russia and China shouldn't even be there. They have no reason to be there. You know what I mean? Because even though you made a deal with Iran, we're not fucking with Iran right now. We ain't even dealing with them, other than the fact that we told them, you know what I mean, don't give them no more weapons or else. That's it. You know what I mean? You keep your ass over where you belong. You got enough going on over there as is. You know, but that also opens it up, because if you steady sending carrier groups over there, then you're taking carrier groups from places that they should be.
Correct.
which you leaving other areas open, which is going to be another problem. So
And
we're going to have
could
to.
I interject? Go
Yeah,
ahead.
go ahead. Go ahead.
You know, I gotta put my survival spin in here. Okay. Once that war breaks, and it's coming, it's the handwriting's on the wall. Um, Iran's going to choke off the Hormuz Strait. The Houthis are going to have that Suez Canal area and the Red Sea choked off. Gas prices are going to soar through the roof. Goods that will come from there is going to soar through the roof. I mean, I strongly advise people. I mean, even if you have money invested in the stock market, just the shootings that occurred recently, the stock market took a major hit behind this. So the markets are going to react negatively to any war breaking out. You know, for me, I've got most of my retirement money's tied up in the market. I know I'm going to take a bath once that starts to occur. So people need to understand, if you want to have things, you better be acquiring it now while it's cheaper. Because if war breaks out, you're going to pay double or triple what you're paying now. I'll stop there.
Well, we're gonna we cruising right at about an hour, so we're gonna close it out. But everybody that's watching this, what Aaron said was absolutely true. You got to pay attention to what's really going on here, and sometimes it's not what they don't tell you; it's what's hidden in plain sight. This stuff has been escalating. It's been escalating for months, and it's not going to just all of a sudden just disappear. Like everybody just going to be like, "Oh yeah, okay, cool, let's go home now." That's not how this happens. You know, with everything else that's going on, economic tensions, tariffs, religious battles, everything else is going on. It's going to have to come to a head. And if you look throughout history, when things like this came to a head, what happens? We got to fight. We got to fight. You know, it ain't no different than me walking outside and I got an issue with somebody. Okay. Eventually, you're going to talk enough shit to where I'm about to go in your mouth. That's just what it's going to be. That's life. This is politics. And even though they're two different things, a lot of things are exactly the same. So, like I said, I thank all y'all for coming out, like always. On your way out, don't forget to hit that like button. Like, follow, share, subscribe, pass it on. People need to really people need to see these shows. I was talking to a guy the other day that had we was talking about some business stuff, and he was looking at the site, looking at the channel, and he said, "I didn't even know what a petrodollar was until I looked at your podcast.
That's
I had no
what's
idea
up.
what that was, but I'm glad I looked at it because I had no clue." So this was a man that owns a Fortune 500 company.
Wow.
That didn't know what a petrodollar was because he spends most of his time in Europe.
Makes sense.
But he had no idea what a petrodollar was and even how it started. He said, "I've heard the name, but I never, kind of in one ear, out the other, never really paid attention to it. But now I understand." And that's what a lot of these shows is for. You know what I mean? You may know a little bit about it. I mean, everybody knows a little bit about something. But we kind of go in and give you a little bit more information on it. So that way you know everything that's dealing with this. Because, like I said, when push comes to shove, the only person you got to deal with, the only one that's going to save you is you. But as I said, thank you all for coming out. See you guys in 7 days. Like I said, like, follow, share, subscribe. Hit the Diamond Effect store. Got a lot of good stuff in there. For you guys that sent sent chat, super chat, stuff like that. Appreciate you. We're gonna do this 1 week at a time. We're gonna keep putting out this information. You know what I mean? Because somebody got to put it out there, and we're gonna do it. So, like I said, much love to all of you, and I'll see you all in 7 days. Go ahead, Aaron.
Okay, again, I want to emphasize the handwriting's on the wall. War is inevitable at this point. Our economy is about shot. Trump and them's out there trying to do things to try to save it right now. I don't know if it's savable because the interest payment alone is $1 trillion almost a month. So, I mean, war would employ everybody. You're either a soldier, you're working manufacturing, but it also creates shortages. Look at what happened during World War II. People couldn't get coffee. If you had sugar, you had to have a card that they would punch a hole in it. It was a ration card. If you want to have something, you better get out there and get it. Don't sit there and cross your fingers and think, I'm a hope it's not going to affect me. You got to put these hands to work. You got to take some effort on your end and get ahead of this so it don't impact you so hard. I'll stop there.
With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you to both of you guys that are on the panel, by the way, for the amount of research that you guys do, man. It's always something I love to be able to, kind of take a seat back, because I do this kind of all day, every day. But to be able to sit back and hear your guys' input and the amount of research that you guys put in, I can't thank you guys both enough. As always, we can't do this without you guys in the chat, man. Make sure you guys hit that like button on the way out. It always helps out the show immensely, man. And if you guys are on my side, stick around for a minute because we're going to be rating our buddy Grade 1 Motorsports. So stick around for that. And listen, we'll see you guys here in 7 days. God bless everyone. And appreciate all of you guys.